And welcome back to the Michael Cohen Show on our continued journey to 500,000 subscribers. Now, we're almost there. We're getting there, thanks to you. So do me a favor, hit subscribe, watch, comment. Keep those comments coming and share with a friend. If each one of you shared with one friend, just one, we would exceed that 500,000 number. Now, why am I telling you to do this? Because the insanity, it doesn't stop. It's like you wake up to the next insanity, to the next fire hose of nuttiness. Think about this. Yesterday, Trump had an interview with Laura Ingraham on Fox News. I got to tell you, she wasn't easy on him. The first clip that I want to show you is Laura pushing Trump about how is he tougher on Canada than our adversaries. Play the clip.
Any one of
you're tougher with Canada than you are with some of our biggest adversaries.
Only because it's meant to be our 51st state. And
okay, but
but listen to this for a second.
We need their territory. They have territorial advantage. We're not going to let them get close to China.
Look, right? I deal with every country, indirectly or directly. One of the nastiest countries to deal with is Canada. The people that, now this was Trudeau, the people that good old Justin, I call him Governor Trudeau, his people were nasty, and they weren't telling the truth. They never told the truth. You know that?
Right. Our neighbors, the Canucks, the maple syrup producing neighbors up north, they're a bunch of liars, right? Now, I'm doing a separate video on Trump's call with Putin. That'll be a separate video, so make sure you watch that. But Laura also asked Trump how he could be sure that he can trust Putin at all. Play the clip.
How can we trust that Vladimir Putin actually wants that, in that he's not also being influenced at the same time by his close friend, President Xi of China?
Well, look, we have our own discussions with President Xi of China, and he wants to get along also, and he's looking to get along, and we're looking to get along with him. And we will. We have a problem of trade where we have a very big imbalance with China. With Russia, we don't have that much trade, and they'd like to, and we'd like to also. They have some very valuable things for us, including very big forms of rare earth. They have a lot of earth. You know, they have a big chunk of real estate, the biggest in the world for a country by far. And on that, they have things that we could use, frankly, and that other people could use. I think that President Xi would like to get along, and I think Russia wants to get along with the United States. I also think we're a much different country than we were just a few months ago. We're a country.
I truly wish that I had the transcript for that, and I read it to you, instead of that coming from the mouth of the President of the United States. A rambling word salad of absolute nothing. Even at one point, Laura Ingraham is like shaking her head. It's like, what? Seriously? I mean, I would love to have a bubble over her head and find out what that brain was thinking when Trump was giving that answer. Well, then Trump goes on to say that he's not sure that he can trust Canada and Mexico. Right? So instead of being concerned, and we know this, and you're going to, again, see this in the next video that I do regarding Putin, Putin is saying the exact opposite of Trump anyway. But the ones we can trust, Canada and Mexico. Play that clip.
Things, we rebuilt our military. Canada doesn't pay for military. They don't give any, they give us nothing. And they are the worst people to negotiate with of everybody.
You got them with USMCA. You finally got them around the edge on that, though. You got
No, I got them there. And USMCA is good, but they cheat. You know, an agreement's good, but they cheat. And Mexico cheats also.
But China cheated on your 2019.
Can I tell you what?
Phase one, they totally cheated and dropped it with Biden. You had a great deal.
When Biden took over, he didn't push them. I would call up once every 2 weeks saying you're not living up to the agreement, and they'd buy more corn, more this.
Great. Meanwhile, in line with Laura's first question, Trump points out how he was wonderful, and he has wonderful, wonderful relationships with our adversaries, not our allies. He has wonderful relationships with our adversaries. Play that clip.
Putin actually said to me, if you're my friend, I'd hate to see you as my enemy. He said that very strongly. But with all of that, I had a very good relationship with Putin. I had a very good relationship with President Xi, a very good relationship with Kim Jong-un of North Korea, lots of good relationships. And that's a positive thing. That's not a negative thing. But at the same time, I'm about our country. So that's why we're talking about tariffs. We'll be taking in trillions of dollars.
I want to get to the tariffs in a minute because we're going to first hit the other.
Yeah. You know, I wasn't sure that I was going to believe that he has these great relationships with our adversaries until, of course, he told us that Putin said it very strongly. Now I'm 100% convinced that it's true, right? Meanwhile, going back to Canada, Trump again says that Canada is meant to be the 51st state. Despite the fact that Canadians don't want it, despite the fact that the premier and the prime ministers are all saying it's not happening, Trump still believes that Canada should be our 51st state. Play the clip.
Canada, and here's my problem with Canada. Canada was meant to be the 51st state because we subsidize Canada by $200 billion a year. We don't need their cars. We don't need their lumber. We have a lot of lumber. We freed it up, as you know, last week. We're freeing it up so that you can actually cut down a tree without being, given the death penalty. Because what these radical environmentalists have done to our country, but we freed it up. But we don't need their lumber. We don't need their energy. We don't need anything. We certainly don't want their automobiles. They make a lot of millions of automobiles are sent in. I'd rather have them made in Michigan.
Right. You know what the problem with that is? We don't have the manufacturing facilities to do it. It's called reindustrialization. Trump thinks that you can go into Costco or Walmart and you can just buy like an inflatable manufacturing plant. It's so ridiculous in terms of conceptually, right? It's impossible. It takes years, if not decades, to build one of these facilities. But he says we can do it tomorrow. Sure, we're going to just chop down a tree. Great. How are you going to process the tree? Where's the mill? Oh, we have mills. Yeah, sure. For whatever wood that we're actually cutting down of our own. Anyway, there's been a whole slew, you may have seen this on the news, of recent Tesla vandalism as Americans, as voters, not just here in America, but all over the world. But here, as voters, aren't happy with Elon's involvement in this administration. Now, Trump was asked if he considers the vandalism, get a load of this, domestic terrorism. Let's think about this in comparison to January 6th, where he refuses to acknowledge that they're insurrectionists, but rather they were unfair, they were patriots, they were defendants, unjust defendants in cases. Play the clip.
And he backed me, and he went, and he got very much involved. He thought he actually would go around saying, if Trump doesn't win, our country is over.
But do you consider this an act of domestic terrorism?
I think so.
Why?
I think that if and when they catch the people, and I hope they do, the good thing is they have a lot of cameras in those places, and they've caught some already having to do with that. I think that you will find out that they're paid by people that are very highly political on the left.
Meanwhile, it's because of...
Yeah. They have no information, but he's got his point of view. Now, in a video that I did yesterday, I unpacked for you all the drama with the Trump administration and these deportations to El Salvador of the Venezuelan gangs. Now, I want to remind you that Chief Justice Roberts strongly reprimanded Trump for his call to impeach the judge who's overseeing that case. And this is what Trump's response was. Play the clip.
Because we're gonna first hit the other big news of the day, which was the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court issued what a rare statement about your suggestion on Truth that you posted earlier today that Judge James Boasberg should be impeached after he ordered those deportation flights to El Salvador halted, essentially turned around. The Chief Justice said it was more than two centuries. We understood that essentially impeachment was for very rare circumstances and not an appropriate response to rulings you disagree with. What's your reaction to the courts stepping in to make a statement here? They didn't make a statement when Joe Biden decided to forgive all those student loans.
Well, he didn't mention my name in the statement. I just saw it quickly. He didn't mention my name, but many people have called for his impeachment, the impeachment of this judge. I don't know who the judge is, but he's radical left. He was Obama appointed.
He doesn't know him, but he knows he's radical left. He knows he's Obama appointed. I did on my Substack, I wrote an article which I think sums it up completely. Roberts stands strong for his own power. Read it. I think you'll get a real understanding of why Roberts is against Trump's calls for the impeachment of a federal court judge. Now, Laura goes on and asks if Trump would defy a court order. Play that clip.
On the election, ruling on the election.
But going forward,
I had judges
would
that
you
were
defy
so
a court
corrupt.
order? Because we all know that was outrageous.
I never did defy a court order.
And you wouldn't in the future?
No, you can't do that. However, we have bad judges. We have very bad judges, and these are judges that shouldn't be allowed. I think at a certain point you have to start looking at what do you do when you have a rogue judge. The judge that we're talking about, you look at his other rulings. I mean, rulings unrelated, but having to do with me, he's a lunatic.
You want to talk about rogue judges? Do I need to remind you of Judge Eileen Cannon? Seriously? Meanwhile, Trump then calls federal judges grandstanders. Yeah, he did. He called them grandstanders, that the only reason that they are making these rulings against him, nothing to do with the law. They like to see their own faces on the front page of newspapers. Play the clip.
But for federal judges, district court judges, to order a sitting president to reinstate fired employees, you're the chief executive officer of the United States. You order that these agencies be reviewed.
Fired employees, many of whom didn't even report to work, many of whom were scamming this country. And you see the same things. I could read them off, and I did during various speeches. I read off deal after deal after deal, all big scams. And we have a guy that wants to make a name for himself. In many cases, they're just grandstanders. They want to make a name for themselves. So
he's a federal court judge. He has tenure for life, appointed by a president. He doesn't need to grandstand to improve his legal career. And finally, I want to show you a clip of Trump ranting about bad and rogue judges. Again, I want to remind you that last week, he tried to say it was illegal for Democrats to criticize judges. Remember that? Remember? A little hypocritical, right? Play the clip.
Excuse me, Mr. President, there still is a process in place. You can read between the lines. It hasn't been a full ruling yet. And I know the Justice Department is appealing this on a couple of different grounds, but this is leading people to wonder whether there are court orders that you will defy because you believe that the judge has no jurisdiction or they're political questions and not justiciable at all. And what would you say to that? Are there circumstances where you would defy a court order?
Well, I think that, number one, nobody's been through more courts than I have. I think nobody knows the courts any better than I have. I would say the chief judge does, but nobody knows them better than I have. And what they've done to me, I've had the worst judges. I've had crooked judges. I have judges that valued Mar-a-Lago at $18 million because that benefited his case, because he wanted to see me convicted of something. I have judges that had relatives making millions and millions of dollars on the election, ruling on the election.
But going forward,
I had judges
would
that
you
were
defy
so
a court
corrupt.
order? Because we all know that was outrageous.
I never did defy a court order.
And you wouldn't in the future?
No, you can't do that. However, we have bad judges. We have very bad judges. And
again, this is why I say, please share with a friend, because the misinformation, the disinformation, the malinformation, this Trump rhetoric, it's absurd. And it's hard to imagine that there's 77 million people that voted for this nonsense. It's why we have to stay vigilant. We have to stay together as a community. And as always, Thanks for listening.
Hey, everyone. First of all, thanks for watching. I mean, we're going to be posting daily episodes with reactions and talking about politics. We'll be talking about everything, in fact. So please like and subscribe. Join us on this journey.